welcome to the Liberal Buzz Show. I am your host, Denise Dorey, and tonight we're going to talk about the initiative called Sean Parker. My calling guest is going to be Shona Gochenaur. Axis of Love, and she has a lot to say about this year's initiative. So she's got, because 2016 is just the beginning here. They're going to really overregulate our community. So I'm waiting for her to call. I've got a lot of things to talk to her about, but we got this. I just got this in. I prepared for another show, and this is the one that I found out I was doing in like 15 minutes ago. But so now AUMA. Now Sean Parker used to be a owner of Facebook. Let's see if that's Shona. She might be calling me. Busy line. Line's busy, she said. Okay, let's see. All right, she said the line's busy, so I guess the last people didn't hang up the phone. All right, so let's get to, see if she I'll tell her to try my phone. Yeah, and so now Sean Parker, he used to own Facebook. He was a former owner, and of course, he's a millionaire, a multi-millionaire, maybe that. And it's all about being a control freak. So this is basically Sean Parker has donated another $500,000 to the legalization. It's fake legalization because there's jail time involved. So when there's jail time involved, it's not real legalization, is it? And there's also, it's illegal to, there she is. Is this Shona G?
It is. It is me, Shona G.
Oh, fantastic. Now, Shona G, she was awarded, she and Axis of Love, myself included, were awarded by Jane Kim of the Board of Supervisors, District 6, an award for, we were recognized actually for our work in passing out free cannabis to poor people.
We were. It was a very sweet thing for Jane to do.
Yes, it was, and that's a 15-year record of constant providing of medicine, day after day, week after week, year after year, just providing free medicine to those who can't afford it and will be soon locked out of the system because of regulations. It'll be impossible to have compassionate grows for people who practically live in urban areas or can't grow for some reason or another. There's a lot of reasons why people can't grow, and
well, one of the main ones being health.
And tell us what Sean Parker, how that initiative is, AUMA, AUMA. Tell us what it is and how it will restrict our community, starting with our community, the compassionate growers community.
Correct. So tonight I'm starting my Anything But UMA campaign. This is a horrible piece of legislation that they're trying to jam to the voters. And it only has, some of the very general concerns are the plant limits and the personal use limits. So, it's very much like what DPA, Drug Policy Alliance, keeps trying to shove, which is 1 ounce. And if you just take a moment and picture everyone in California right now that has more than 1 ounce of medicine, that's crazy restrictions. And what it does is it supports the prison guard's ability to continue cannabis arrests.
So who's backing this? I mean, Sean Parker's funding
No,
it.
stop saying Sean Parker, because they're just jumping on his name. This is really about the corporate conglomerate of DPA, ASA, Americans for Safe Access, MPP, Marijuana Policy Project, and the ACLU, unfortunately, jumps on board sometimes. And what it is it's George Soros and those guys, and they're just using Sean Parker right now as sort of a poster child. But these are the same people that constantly use this sort of friendly fascist approach of saying, hey, look, we're giving reparations to poor people and communities of color, impacted communities of color. But it's the classic sort of friendly fascism where on the other side of their neck, what is actually coming out is a deal with a prison guard lobby to be able to arrest 18 to 20-year-olds for being in possession if they can't afford to pay a fine. They can spend up to 6 months in a jail cell in a county system.
Yeah.
That's human captivity.
I did 6 months when I was 18 for cannabis in Santa Rita.
Yeah, and did you meet a lot of nice people?
I won't
Right.
answer.
So
Yeah.
why would we say that we're doing this to be protective of young adults when we're actually doing this to keep a supply of basically a slave caste to go into, the county jail system, which we all know leads to the prison industrial system.
Work for 25 cents an hour.
So this really stinks. Civil rights-wise, this really stinks. Anything but UMA. Whether you vote for MCLR or CCHI, anything. Vote for anything and everything but UMA.
Yeah, well, CCHI wants to give control to the alcoholic beverage control, who are probably the most corrupt organization California's ever seen, so from what I've heard.
Right. There's downfalls. There's a reason why you and I are both proponents of MCLR 3.
And 4. What about 4?
And 4.
Yeah.
The best, that's the best piece of legislation, for the voters to pass. But anything is better than UMA. Sign on to everything. Get anything and everything on the ballot so that we can disrupt this vote.
Yeah, I'd rather see nothing passed than this garbage, wouldn't you?
Absolutely. And I want people to remember we shut down Prop 19, which was another legalization. But the legalization is really the wrong word. Another limited monopoly control piece by Richard Lee and some very affluent people in East Bay was called Prop 19. And we shut that down, too. And Ohio shut down a monopoly piece recently, too.
The voters weren't fooled, were they?
No, the voters won't be fooled again and again by these friendly fascists. It's just like Hillary Clinton just stopped taking money from private prison lobbyists and the prison guards. Bernie never did.
No, he
So
didn't.
there's a huge divide in the community of who is actually a freedom fighter and who's just a friendly fascist.
We got the 3 strikes rule under the Clinton's administration.
What's that?
Didn't we get the 3 strikes law under Clinton's administration,
Absolutely. The Clintons put this idea out there that there were super predators.
I mean, they might change their ways.
There was no white super predators, which is really interesting considering, you watch any crime drama and the serial killer is a white guy between the ages of 25 and 35. So, what do you do? These people are lying and they need to go.
Yeah, they're turning it's just the media manipulating the public and manufacturing consent.
Absolutely, it's a manufacture of consent, and that's what UMA is trying to do. And they have, more important than Sean Parker, is Lieutenant Governor Gavin Newsom, the former mayor of San Francisco, who has been groomed by the DPA elites, the Drug Policy Alliance elites, and him have decades of holding each other's hands. And I'm sure it seems coherent to him. His father was a judge and a liberal judge. And there's things that, Gavin Newsom thinks about drug policy that are spot on. He's not a Clinton. But now he's just blindly supporting UMA. And I think it behooves the people of San Francisco to target Lieutenant Governor Newsom with anything but UMA. And how dare you put your name on something that puts poor people in jail for pot.
It seems like gay he was better with LGBT people,
What's that?
Well, Gavin Newsom, he just seemed to he was all ready to give LGBT people their rights because there was no money to be made off of it, was there? Except the cake people, the people that sell cakes, I suppose. But with cannabis,
right.
Yeah.
Well, but he was in the right on that. I mean, everybody should be able to marry.
Yeah, he was in the right.
I mean, it's not like he's,
but
it's not just in the middle on some good topics. But
it just illustrates he's
and
bought.
They're trying to hide the devil in the details.
Yes, that's
There's
it.
also a clause in it that encourages young adults to snitch each other out. Why would we be replicating the psychology of the drug war?
How do they encourage them to snitch each other out? You mean if they get busted with something, they'll let them go if they snitch someone else out?
Yeah.
Oh, and they get young people. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, 18 to 20. And if you look at alcohol, what do we do when we find underage young adults drinking? In general, we tend to take the alcohol away from them, get them home safely, and maybe they get a ticket. Here we're saying a substance that we know is non-toxic, much safer than alcohol. Even the president of this country says it's safer than alcohol.
Yes.
We're going to put poor kids in jail for 6 months for being caught smoking pot. That is crazy.
I went to jail for 6 months in Santa Rita for someone else's pot. It wasn't even my pot.
This is the kind of thing that we're replicating for the prison guard union.
Yeah,
that's the only person that profits off of this.
Well, isn't it the probation, the prison guard, the police chiefs, the League of Cities?
The League of Cities is involved more on the state legislation, which is a crisis as well. We have 20-plus cities that ran out and banned commercial cultivation.
What about the DUI factor? What's this AUMA? What is it? Do they have some sort of a criteria for calibrating how much cannabis is in somebody's system to arrest them for DUI? I mean, because let's face it.
I think what they do, and DUI isn't a big topic with me in cannabis because I think it's really irrelevant. I don't think we have a lot of people being pulled over for recklessly driving with cannabis. And French studies have proven that you can actually be a better driver.
Yeah. Oh, I can attest to that.
But a lot of what the different groups are doing is just directing a study on it so that there's more information. Nobody's really big on the DUI penalties.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that because I've heard different things in the news, So I haven't really read anything about that, so So let's see. We've got about 8 minutes left. Now, what about, because they have prototype pot breathalyzers, and I thought maybe the breathalyzer industry would want to make money off of testing people. Hey, it's an industry.
I'm sure. Every industry that can get into something that's being ground level industrialized is getting in. You have the Teamsters ready to transport. You have commercial packaging companies ready to package California cannabis. Everybody wants a piece of the pie, and everybody's getting fed except for the people whose backs all these millionaires rode in on. Same story.
Oh yeah, they're just swooping in to take all the credit for something that we've been doing for decades.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, they've got the greed factor, and we've just got the more the
The need factor.
yeah, well, the civil rights factor too. It's more, the cannabis plant, I believe, is smarter than the people trying to control it like that, and I think that cannabis plant is going to find a way to defeat them.
I hope so, but I think we have to protect and shepherd her to help us protect her, because the cannabis plant has given, our Access to Love community so much care and love and brought people together for such good. And then you look at things like Scott Wiener's Rubber Stamp Task Force, and you look at a group of people that actually have been conspiring together for many decades, trying to put themselves up as the only choice and the gatekeepers of cannabis.
Right.
And they're really holding her hostage. It's really false imprisonment, isn't it?
Well, see now, yes, it is. It definitely is, Shona. Now, in this cannabis magazine, I'll get the name of it in a second. SF Evergreen. They say these people are hailing how great it is, this AUMA, and they're saying there will be many changes in the cannabis industry this year. The state will elect a pot czar to oversee medical cannabis, which is now regulated under just passed Medical Marijuana Regulation and Safety Act, MMRSA. Licensing fees and structures will be set. Commercial cannabis activity is allowed. The law itself will be debated, amended, and because this is California, interpreted differently in different places. As for AUMA and legalization, you must remember one cold hard fact: it is our only hope. And we both heartily disagree.
Who said that?
Oh, this magazine called SF Evergreen.
Right, but who's the quote from? And I'll tell you why it's there.
Chris Roberts.
Well, Chris Roberts actually recently wrote a piece in his other hat called The Snitch, and he basically tore AUMA apart. And he unfortunately was hanging out with Dennis Peron's people, who are also opposed to AUMA. And it's not the only saving grace. It's not the only piece that can make it. That's all propaganda. That's like Hillary Clinton saying, "I'm the only candidate."
Right. It says they're saying that MCLR hasn't a chance because it's an underfunded, and it says
we have a huge problem with funding.
Yeah.
But that's true of any grassroots campaign as it gets rolling. The money really doesn't come until you get something that's grassroots onto the ballot, and then the fundraising really starts. When you have something that's corporate, like AUMA, people are more, the larger funders are more apt to just grab it while they're still in the signature gathering phase, because all they need is one or two super PACs to throw them a little piece of their wealth. Where MCLR is more, ground level. Hey, throw us $3 to $5 all over the state, just like CCHI. We're going to have a huge anything but AUMA campaign really roll out in the first part of March from all the different camps.
Yes, because, we got about a minute and a half left because there's so many ballot propositions for cannabis now. I don't know how many of them are going to actually make the ballot, but we had over 20 for a while. I don't know.
I know.
So however many that make it, we have to band together sort of like and just be allies against this one, AUMA.
Yep, anything but AUMA.
Anything but AUMA. We got to start a slogan and a campaign about it. That's true. So where can folks get more? We're going to start circulating petitions when and where?
Well,
Is it online? Can we sign them online?
No. You need a wet signature for getting on the ballot. But you can download some of the petitions, I think, and start signature gathering for some of the campaigns. I've been sick for this whole month, so I'm going to be checking in with DJ Kuti about getting our ballots up here in San Francisco, and at the same time collecting signatures for anything but UMA and getting Gavin Newsom some perspective that his city does not support jail time for poor kids.
Now check this out. We got a minute left. Bernie Sanders filed a bill to legalize cannabis.
Yes, he did.
And he filed it Wednesday and called it ending federal marijuana prohibition. So would that supersede these ballot propositions for California? Federal law is usually the last word, isn't it?
Well,
for this, it wasn't. But
well, what a change in federal law would do is a little bit different than what state regulations would do. But it would definitely be a game changer.
Wow, it would, and I think Bernie is our best candidate because Hillary is against cannabis legalization. Yeah, I think.
Well,
isn't she?
Anybody that accepted money from the private prisons up until recently should not ever be considered by a humanitarian.
See you on March 3rd, everybody. Bye bye.